Right, so I've got the 55 plate Mini in that needs a gearbox or a clutch or a drive shaft or a wheel bearing, but I think it's going to be the gearbox, so that's the plan for today, is to whip the engine out, swap the box over, and probably the drive shaft and everything else just to make sure. We've got our list that we made from taking out the first one. So first job's first, wheels off, inner arches out, bumper off, crash bar off, front panel off, and then start on the engine. So I'll crack on. Right, to get the wheel liners off, obviously you've got to take the wheels off, 17mm. Then you've got 2 Phillips screws in each wheel well, and loads of these plastic Phillips heads, push-in clip things. Some come out, some don't, they're a nightmare. But anyway. Right, the bumper is these 2 torque splits up here, and you've got some 8 or 10mm, depending who last put them on each side of the bumper. You've also got to remember to unplug the lights as well. Right, next is the crash bar, and that's 13mm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 each side. Right, next, got to take these off, and they're 2 16mm bolts underneath. Right, that's the top and bottom rad hose undone. Now I've got to pull the wires out of these, and then undo the aircon rad, and it should all come off the front. Right, so that's now in service mode, as they call it. So you can access everything, as you can see. Next is the airbox, battery box, and then we'll move on to the drive shafts. .32mm hub nut. Next, I'm removing the 3 13mm bolts that hold the drive shaft carrier to the back of the block. Next to remove is the lower stability bolt. One 16mm bolt. Next job is to undo the bottom ball joints, lower the arm, get the lower arms down and pull the shafts out. Two hammer tricks, you don't damage the boot. Drive shafts have a snap ring on the end, and that's what holds them in the box, hence why I was prying it out. Next was the two plugs off the EPAS unit. It was a massive plug with two big wires on and a small, probably signal wire. Again, the signal wire's got a clip and the main one just pulls off because that loom is on the engine, and we're leaving obviously the EPAS behind. Next job on the list is to undo the exhaust manifold off the back of the head. It's just a load of 10mm bolts, easily accessible. Just got to reach down the back and undo them, nice and easy. That off. Right, so next job is to disconnect the fuel pipes. The return is just on a squeeze clip, you just squeeze to both sides and pull it. The main fuel has got a plastic collar in it, you just push the collar back towards the pipe, pull the whole thing off. Next thing is the gear cables off the top of the gearbox. They've got little spring clips that got to be pressed and then prised off the nipples. Next was the clutch hydraulic line, which is just on a little horseshoe clip. You just got to pop it up, pull the pipe out, push the clip back down again. So there was the plug out of the fuse box, the multi-plug, and the main positive that's held down with a 10mm. But I had to actually unbolt the fuse box and pop out the main live spade connector. It's just on a retaining clip, and also undo the 10mm that holds the earth underneath it as well. Brake vacuum. Matrix hoses next as well, two right at the back, just on spring hose clips. Coolant return to the header tank. Right, so bar the engine mounts, I think we're ready to get it out. One more aircon pipe to get off, and then we should be good to go out. There we go. Now let's take the box off, put a new clutch in, put it all back together. Right, so it's all back together. Of course, one thing I completely forgot to do was bleed the clutch. So I need to take off the 213s. Because the bleed nipple is right near the line, this doesn't really get bled. Oh, I keep putting this in the way. Look, I'm trying to show you. This doesn't get bled. So I'm going to take this off, compress the rod, and then cap it off while I do these. And then there'll be, obviously the rod will be all the way back here, so there'll be no air in there. So that's what I'm going to do now. Right, so we've bolted an exhaust bracket on there. Because there's a little bit of a rubber bush in between the metal and the bolts, I have put a Copart special cable tie around, so that should hold it nice and steady. So now we can bleed it out. Right, so it's all back together. Obviously didn't film it going back together because it's just a reversal of fitting, and I forgot, if I'm honest. But anyway, right, so clutch is now bled. Undone the clutch slave off the gearbox, clamped it fully shut, open, the rod all the way back anyway, and then use the vacuum bleeder, put it on the nipple, undo the nipple, open the line on the air, and it sucks it all through. So you've just got to make sure the fluid reservoir's topped up. It's now back together, all working fine, so hopefully we now won't have a whiny gearbox. So there, get it down on the floor, take it for a little test drive, and hopefully this one will be ready for its MOT. Right, back on the 55 plate Mini. Got an MOT today, but the engine management light's come on. Plugged it in, it says the camshaft sensor is faulty, and as you might be able to see down there, I don't know if you can, I'll show it when it comes out, but can we get a light in there? Not really. Just below the red thing, it's cracked. So I'll whip it off and show you. What you've got to do is support the engine, undo the bolts either side holding the engine mount on, and this one, lift that out the way, and then you can get to it. So I'll get that done now. Right, so now it's off. As you can see, a 10mm bolt holds it to the side of the block. It's all cracked. You've got to pop that little red stay down, and then you'll be able to pull the clip out and then just change it and put a new one on. Right, so new one's in, clip is on, plug back in. So I've got to put the engine mount back on, 2 16s either side of the block, and the 1 18. So to get that on, turn the car on, make sure it's the code has cleared. If not, obviously cleared it, and hopefully it will stay out, and then we can take up for an MOT. Fingers crossed. Right, well, it's had its MOT. It passed, thankfully. A couple of advisories. First off was the headlamp was cloudy. They just need a good T-cut. Headlight restore kit, not a problem. Oil leak, not excessive, which Mini doesn't leak oil. Unfortunately, every single one I've had seems to do that, and Googling it shows exactly the same. They all tend to have a leak, normally rocker cover gasket or something like that, so we'll check that out. And then the normal that I get from this MOT centre, brake pipe corroded, covered in grease or other material. I think he does that just to protect himself more than anything else, but they're fine. So we've got another year's MOT on it. Drives absolutely fine. The only thing I've got to do is slightly adjust the boot lid. One side shuts closer than the other. I don't think it's any damage, I just think it's not well aligned, so we need to do that. But other than that, it's good to go. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and share. If you want to see more Mini stuff, more Copart stuff, more crap car stuff, feel free. Have a follow. And I'll update you on other things very soon. Thanks for watching.